Cannabis Commodities Exchange. Go to www.cannaexchange.com, the online marketplace where medical and recreational marijuana businesses can list products for wholesale, make custom purchase requests, and negotiate transactions with other users. CCX provides a secure cannabis training platform to Colorado licensed retail and medical marijuana businesses. Stay tuned. Thanks to all of our sponsors, and this week we're highlighting Dairy Berry's Recording Studio. Find him at dairyberriesrecordingstudio.com or call Mark at 303-456-8216. Open up, Colorado. It's 420. Time to grind and burn.
This is not your son's stoner show.
Welcome back, family, friends, fellow cannapreneurs. Welcome to the Cannabis Community Project, here for another weekly podcast from the CCP studios high up in Denver, Colorado. Here exploring the business side of this newly emerging Colorado economy, focusing on the business, the patient, the retailer, to the geek in the garage creating that next innovation. This is the first media platform to help fellow cannapreneurs just like you build sustainable businesses while living the lifestyle. Welcome back, cannapreneurs. Ready for another great show. We have another guest, a well-known guest, but one here once again. Sohan Shah from the Cannabis Commodities Exchange is back to give us an update on what he's been doing for the last month up in Washington, up at a couple events, 420 related events, giving us an update on the business, changes in the commodity exchange, change of business models. You know, we got into a good conversation, fairly open conversation. I gave him some good back and forth, played the devil's advocate, dug in deep about what's going on and the overall business strategy, and I think out of that we pulled out some great conversation that you fellow cannapreneurs can learn from also. Come learn how it's done in business, how every day you have to be flexible, making changes, and sometimes that means waking up one day and just giving away your products for free. We're going to learn about it. Don't go anywhere, but you know what's coming. Here's our short-term memory flashback relapse.
Now you're in Connecticut?
We're in Connecticut, right?
Okay.
Yeah. I've been in Colorado once, and that was in April. We did the High Times at the Cannabis Cup.
Oh, okay.
But that was our first experience with Denver, so that was like really interesting.
Oh, cool. So is this your business, the Kushle? Is that
it is?
Is that how do you say it?
Kushle.
Kushle.
Yes.
Here, it looks pretty cool.
Kushle kind of came about, and so things started to kind of fall in place one by one.
That's great. I mean, I think it's actually a better angle to go with the odor elimination rather than the perfume or the cover-up with other scents. I mean, there's nothing more humorous than walking into a room with a heavy smell of incense or something else going on. It almost gives away what you're doing.
It pretty much tells you what you're doing, because you can never really quite get rid of that odor. You kind of always have that extra little scent in the air.
I spend a good amount of my time covering up.
Some people who, take a moment and actually write in and say, thank you, and we really appreciate this product, or we're really amazed by it, and for as long as we've been doing it, we're still thrilled to hear. You don't get tired of, really making a difference for someone, and that's what really kind of fuels and keeps us going, is making that difference for someone or anyone and continuing to make a difference.
What is the environment like where you are? Because obviously here in Colorado, the environment's going to be a little bit unique compared to the rest of the world. We have first state to push through recreational and to be very open and full board, just cannabis business 24/7. Here in Colorado, we're kind of jaded, maybe a little thick-skinned now.
So everything kind of went legal in the state of Connecticut. One smoke shop asked to carry the product. And so we thought, maybe we should have this out into smoke shops. So slowly, like buildings. That wasn't in our original business plan per se. It's just kind of evolved as the business continues to grow and evolve as the marketplace evolves.
Who is the business base of your business? Is it your husband? Do you have a third party in there helping you?
It is my husband and myself, and we do have another partner, Chris, who joins us in putting together this journey, if you will.
Because it sounds like you had a good understanding of some essentials. I mean, you were able to navigate your own website and to get structured as a business and to start moving forward, where a lot of people get stuck in just those first baby steps of, they have a product or an idea, but they're not really sure just how to get that initial breakthrough. I mean, not even the big stuff of putting large amounts of money into their business.
So too, I think just taking that first step, that's huge in itself. It's a scary thing. We're here for right now, and this is a good thing. You can find us very easily.
Very good. And then, of course, they can always send you emails if they want to personally communicate with you.
And that would be info@cushley.com.
Or right from the webpage.
Absolutely, right from the webpage. So we tried to keep it very simple.
There you have it, short-term memory flashback relapse with Colleen from Cushley. What did you think of Cushley? Isn't this a great product? This isn't just about candles and incense and perfumes. As you heard about it, this is about odor elimination, a proprietary compound that neutralizes the scent of smoke. It's amazing. I've been using it for the last couple weeks. I'm going to give you a review coming up in a couple weeks after I've had a good amount of time to use it. But if you didn't hear the full show, go check it out. Last week's show, Crushing Odor with Cushley, and then check out their website, cushley.com. A lot of great products, candles, sprays, lotions, the whole deal. Let's move on.
National Podcast Day is dedicated to promoting podcasting worldwide through public engagement. You may be asking, what can I do to get involved on National Podcast Day? It's easy. Head over to nationalpodcastday.com and check the suggestions. But ultimately, the options are endless. Remember, nationalpodcastday.com.
All rise, court is now in session. Face the flag, your country recognizes the principles for which it stands. Sit down.
Good morning.
This is case 148. Be quiet, Harlan.
Have you ever seen a criminal before? Whack his pee-pee.
I have a lot of things to say about cannabis. I'm Summer Star Haskey. I have Enviro Textiles out of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, with my mother, Barbara Philippone, who is the woman who's made hemp fabrics what they are today all over the world. But of course, I am a native to Colorado. I was sitting in Colorado State Senate hearings at 11 years old over 20 years ago in the original Senator Casey bills. And so, today's a really special time for me. It's kind of one of those chances where those of us that have been pushing and fighting for a long time finally get a chance to relax and celebrate a little bit, honor some of our favorites like Alex White Plume, who's here today, who of course is a hero from the Lakota Pine Ridge hemp that he'll call his DEA hemp field. So it's a really exciting time. We won Colorado's largest growing business award for specifying hemp textiles and finished products. Pretty much as legislation passes and people become more conscious about what's going on and how it is more available, and it just takes getting involved to actually get somewhere, and let's really get more going on. this absolutely does kind of spread the word a little bit. So I'm sure we'll hear from some people wanting some stocking stuffers or to introduce it into their line. And met quite a few people today actually that are already established Colorado-based companies making their product right here in Colorado that want to now implement hemp textiles. We are envirotextiles.com. You can find us anywhere if you just search Envirotextiles or Envirotextiles hemp fabrics. Summer Star hemp fashion shows. There's some really great stuff out there that would blow your mind. Yes, there is something for everyone. So definitely check it out. When you say you can't find it, it is out there. So you just got to know where to look.
Check, yo, check, Razor. I'm running with some of the endless flows of pro at bringing the ruckus. We kill them all, roll the fall, keeping the shit above it. I buzz like a bumble, drop jaws whenever I rumble. You said you write rhymes, but it sound like you got carpal tunnel or arthritis. I might just all night this priceless. So how you gonna change overnight, kid? My style all wild, Chappelle, you flawed now. Sure bound to sink in my waters until you all drown. Revealing you all now, fake casket put to sleep. The young vet, we hold the minds that you foresee. I pull from Long Beach, I call it treason. My to take your soul, kick your shit for no reason. You fools do better off being neutral, cause I go cuckoo. They see Rio and then I nuke you. Sex and bitch, they call me sutras. I make them useful. Shorties try to lock me down, but that's the shit I'm used to. This shit is crucial. On Facebook, I praise and mutual. I won't remove you. I'll just let the karma suit you. This what the brew do. 40 hours, I'm in the sours. You knew towers, softer than towers. The world is ours.
Don't want it, Ill-minded, that's the Hans. Let me get him, You thought it was, Yo, check the verbal attack. It's early in the rap to leave you in a surgical strap. They get your verse, this verse with a thirst for raps. All killer scrap with a thriller latch. You got a sick beat, my heartbeat sicker, call it an illa batch. They think the Riz is back, or the Jizz is back, or the Jig is back. Nah, sorry to disappoint, it's just this new killing tracks with no complications from this skill contemplating. Leave you contemplating from the combinations of your compilations. And I never fathom, just get at them with every last atom. Subtract an atom to the battle list that can't scrap with some animals. Stay with that antidote for those that always have MC fear. For the regular beast coast, but the coast gonna never be clear. He'll always kill this style because it don't get better by each year. Each other minute or missing life just becomes a leap year. Cause afterlife is we coming after life. Couldn't see him afterlife with half the mics, he killing afterlife. Could you pass the mic for the train of thoughts of assassinites? A shot at every verse with the ill mind, that is one you have to. What y'all really want? Check.
Here we go. Sit back and get ready for a deep-rooted conversation about business, marketing, strategy, business models. Talking with Sohan J. Shah from the Cannabis Commodities Exchange gives me a chance to be a devil's advocate, push some questions, make people think about the hard answers, but get to the root of what's going on. My hope is that this is an open community show that other people listen into, and they get some good insights to what businesses are doing, how people are surviving, what they're doing out there to make revenue and make their product or their goal in cannabis become real. Well, when we get into long-form interviews where you have the chance to sit down for an hour, go back and forth, answer some questions, and finally come out at the end standing on a pile of information that you've broken down piece by piece and then built back up, well, that's when you have a true conversation that brings out the real world. And that's what I think we discovered with CCX today. Little by little, we're learning more and more about our sponsors, the Cannabis Commodities Exchange, CCX, and the more we get to know them, the more we find out about how they're changing the world and how you might be able to learn something from their business models and what they're doing. So take a listen today. It's just one-on-one. Let's get into it.
Sharp off the tongue like the blade of a razor. Never taking orders like a damn waiter. Reppin' New York like my name Walt Frazier. Been my mama angel, but I've been a hellraiser. Sharp off the tongue like the blade of a razor. Never taking orders like a damn waiter. Reppin' New York like my name Walt Frazier. Been my mama angel, but I've been a hellraiser.
Alright, I think I'm recording. Yep, alright, I'm recording. So, don't say anything crazy. So you're just coming back from Washington?
Yeah, I've been back about 2 weeks now, 3 weeks.
So we're sitting back down in the office, down at CCX.
Yep, CCX World Headquarters here in Lower Highland, Denver.
Sitting with Soham J.
Soham J. Shah.
Soham?
Soham.
Oh, man. I'm thinking of the movie with Adam Sandler.
Zohan.
That's right. I guess if there's one thing I could get right, it's your name. So we're back here. Find out your last ventures over the last month. You've been gone a while. Yeah,
I was gone just over a month, like almost 5.5 weeks. It was a good time. It started out and ended with both with trade shows.
Nice.
So we left here. Josh and Maz got back from Washington towards the end of July, at the beginning of August, and they were here for maybe a couple days, and then we hit the road back out in my car up to Tacoma for CannaCon.
Hitting the road like a musician on a band tour. That's what you got to do, right?
Honestly, through the course of the past few months and how many of these shows we've done, and if you go and open up the back of my car and see just that it's packed with all our trade show stuff, we've gotten to the point we feel kind of like carnies.
Yeah.
Because we see the same people at all the different events, whether it's in Washington
tents,
or whether it's down here in Colorado. It's this
each other's lines and sales pitches.
We all we'll play games. Like at CannaCon, it was pretty long. It was 4 full days of all business to business. So we were across the aisle.
This was the Washington CannaCon?
Yeah, CannaCon in Tacoma, Washington. I think it was the 7th through the 11th of August this year.
What was that all about? Was that just a trade show?
Yeah,
or
it was a pure business to business trade show. There's technically no smoking allowed.
Were people smoking?
Word on the street was that vendors were taking walks around the vendor parking lot. That's all I can.
That was like the Cannabis Cup.
Divulge about that.
Somewhere around 4:20 during the Cannabis Cup, the indoor area got very, very cloudy and hazy.
I noticed that. It seemed like some of it was coming from in or around our booth, but I don't know.
So you had a booth?
We did at CannaCon. We did have a booth. It was all indoor. It had a lot of seminars. It was actually a really, really great conference in terms of pulling the target crowd that they wanted. They marketed it as a sole business professional trade show.
Yeah.
And BioTrack THC, the software company that provides seed-to-sale tracking, actually has the contract with the state of Washington and the Washington State Liquor Control Board to write their MITS, Marijuana Inventory Tracking System, is what we use in Colorado, the equivalent of that for their regulatory purpose. And it's called the Washington State Marijuana Traceability System.
Wow.
So BioTrack THC were big sponsors of the event. They had a big booth. They were hosting seminars throughout the weekend about their compliance software. So for a business like us, where we're targeting almost entirely licensed 502 licensed businesses in Washington, those are the people that had to come to learn at those seminars, and we were right near the entrance of the main part of a trade show. So I think we had some very good exposure there.
Trailblazers. Was this an expensive event? Did it require a lot of resources?
I mean, getting a booth is really never cheap at any of these trade shows, but relative to like a High Times Cannabis Cup, I believe it was a little bit cheaper. Mm-hmm. We had a bigger booth. For us, particularly as a business-to-business company, we got a lot more value out of a conference like this than we would a Cannabis Cup. Mm-hmm. If we were doing something that
because they're actual businesses, interacting with other businesses versus consumers, just scrolling to see what's happening.
If we were end consumer facing, that'd be a little bit different. But it was a really good avenue for us to really meet a lot of the people we needed to. Which Josh and Maz actually flew back here the Tuesday following the entire trade show, so I stayed up there and did follow-up on my own for about 5 weeks, and that culminated essentially with the Cannabis Cup at the beginning of this month, and what they called was Seattle, but it was actually in Everett, which is about 30 minutes north of the city, so it's kind of an interesting situation they had.
Now, how do you actually make it work, though? I mean, are you funding this, or are you depending on friends and family? How do you actually make this work? People I know that do the trade show show circuits end up spending so much in food, hotels,
we're pretty lean about how we do it. We've been fortunate enough to meet some very good people in the places we've been. So, for example, there was a really, really awesome guy, a couple years younger than myself. He's in college at Pacific Lutheran University, just outside of Tacoma.
Okay.
Josh and Maz met him. I think they had an Airbnb in Seattle, their first night in Seattle, and he happened to be hanging out in that same apartment building. They got to talking to him. He ended up being a really cool guy. So we told him we were going to be in Tacoma for 4 days, told him where our Airbnb was, and he was like, well, my roommates are out of town, and I got at least 3 extra beds. Do you guys want to come crash with me? So we bit the bullet and canceled the day of, and that's how we make it work. And we're just thrifty with how we spend our marketing money.
So did you make any sales? I mean, what did this come out as a success? And what were the metrics of success? Sales or just connections?
General connections and brand recognition. Really becoming and being welcomed into the Washington industry was really awesome. We met some great people in Yakima. Jedediah Haney with Cause M has treated us really well, and they're doing some great things down on the east side of the Cascades with helping with some of the local jurisdictions that have been hurdles to the implementation of I-502. More than that, even up north, the MJBA is doing a great job too of really bringing all the different business aspects of the industry together. Right now, there's just not that much supply on the market, so we had majority of the retailers and processors and producers we talked to loved the concept of our idea. The retailers were like, yes.
You were out supporting the commodities exchange.
Yeah. The retailers really, they love the idea, and they're like, do you have supply there right now? And we're like, no, there's no supply on the market. And they're like, okay, but at the point that they're at right now, and the fact that a lot of them did not come from the medical game, they're willing to explore any possible legal avenue to procure inventory. So they're very receptive to that. The processors and producers really like the idea of being able to reach a wider network of wholesalers. And once again, a lot of them are not cannabis industry experts or have little or no experience with this running this type of business. So they're open to it and using it as soon as their next harvest comes up. And they have what they call their harvest festival, their Croptober, which should be coming up in the next few weeks. So the idea is that there's going to be a lot of supply hitting the market, and hopefully we're positioned to take that on. I mean, our platform is ready, but I think we did a good job of some of that brand recognition.
Is the strategy dependent on building demand to such a critical tipping point where supply has to fulfill itself? Almost like somebody exhaling all the air from their lungs. At some point, you will just come sucking it back in, even if you don't want to, right?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things we've been moving towards, and that we are going to implement very soon here, is a completely free model. We're just going to remove
anybody can sign up.
Anybody who's a licensed business can sign up.
So there's still a due diligence process.
Yeah, there's still due diligence, but they're not going to be charged to use the service.
So like a Match.com, as long as you're over 18 and you can prove it, you get your membership going.
Yeah, the same way we verify it now.
I mean, Facebook accounts are pretty secure because most people have to supply certain identifying information that is verified.
Yeah.
So having even just that basic Facebook connection interface, upon check-in,
absolutely
would be a big part of it.
I mean, I don't really see any increase in risk from having a free model versus having a paid model. To us, it's just removing barriers in the process of trying to get somebody on the platform.
What do you mean? Because don't you make your money from membership dues, fees?
That was the original idea. We're shifting away from that model.
Okay.
We're moving.
Well, are you dropping this for the first time?
No, this has been in the works for a while, and this is something.
Do your clients know this is changing? I mean, this seems to be like this is a whole.
We're releasing our 2.0 here in a couple weeks.
Okay, well, tell me about it.
Yeah, so 2.0 is going to highlight a couple new big features, mainly auctions and the ability to create a virtual storefront for people who produce a set spread of goods that they have, whether it's a cultivator or an infused product lab, whatever it may be. And it's an idea that we really test marketed in Washington and a lot at CannaCon, and we floated the idea of this freemium type model where what we have right now is what we call our 1.0, where it's just the very basic creating listings and sending messages. So we want to make that completely free.
That's right now what the membership is paid for, where they're paying their monthly membership to post their product or their demand.
Yeah.
But you're not taking away that aspect, right? People are still, it's still a commodity exchange, right?
No, it's the exact same thing. We're just building new features onto it, and because ultimately a commodities exchange requires a lot of data to be functional, we're going to remove the barriers to using the service so that more people are inclined to use it, and we can help make the industry a more efficient place with better information, with data-driven decisions, not anecdotally driven decisions.
So how do you survive then?
An investor.
Where does the investor get their incentive from? How is the company making money?
So you're basically asking about the same revenue model for any type of social type platform, and many of those companies get funded right off the bat. In fact, there's a couple companies here in Colorado, not too far from here, actually, about 5 minutes up the road, that are good friends of ours, in Mass Roots and Waxy, and they've both been funded successfully through angel investor networks.
That's for funding. What is the business model of revenue? How does the company? Because right now it's membership fees, right? So if you take that away, what is being replaced to make money for the company?
It's sales of data and information on the back end. And what sets us apart from something like a traditional social network is that a lot of the times, if you look at something like a Snapchat or a Tinder, they're not really sure how to monetize on their product, right? Because they're just generating a strong product and user base, but there's not really advertising happening right now. There's not any real way. It's a free app.
So investors are paying to hold on to an audience that they're not quite sure what to do with.
Exactly. And believe it or not, people do that a lot. What's different for us is
what's the long game in that?
Data. Data is the big play for everyone. Everybody wants data. I mean, look at what Facebook did just by building a massive user base, or Google just by building a massive user base. But in terms of something that separates us from social is that we're providing, or will be set up to provide, financially trade-driven financial wholesale information about the cannabis market, which is very unique. Until now, it's really anecdotal. This will be based off of volume trade. It'll be things that we can track geographically, historically, seasonally. And I can tell you, I mean, we know what's different for us is we know who we can sell the data to on the back end. Like, we know the types of people that would be interested in that. What we don't know is at what point will the data that we have be a statistically significant sample that we can say that this is representative of the market and we can present it as accurate information. The other thing that's really we're not sure yet is what's the price point. I mean, what is that data worth? How much can we realistically charge for it? And those are things that'll, they'll work themselves out as we build that user base. But in the short term, it's really just let's get people on the platform, because it's a great product that we truly believe makes being a cannabis business owner a more efficient process.
Wow, that's a complete model shift.
It is.
And when did this decision happen?
I mean, it's been being tossed around for the past few months. We really kind of, like I said, we test marketed it at CannaCon primarily.
That's essentially a completely different business.
It is.
It's almost like you inverted the business. Instead of using the exchange as a means to collect revenue, now it's the exchange as a means to collect data to sell to collect revenue. It's like you added an extra.
So we originally just had, I mean, the data was already the end game. The data was always the end game, but in the immediate, it was originally just like a secondary revenue stream, because what we were immediately collecting on was subscription. But
for subscription for an exchange of a product of an exchange of a portal, that was an exchange portal, right?
So that was still an exchange. Yeah, it's still an exchange portal. It still has that primary purpose, and it was always built with the database in mind. It was like that's never been on the radar. It's just think about the number of businesses that are out there.
Yeah.
licensed businesses. There's a finite number of those. Even if we capture 100% of the market, there's a very finite number of those.
Mm-hmm.
That's a plateau. That's, that business, that revenue stream will plateau at some point.
Uh-huh.
What will not plateau is people who need access to information. That is a subscription that will endure, and as long as we're continuing to provide relevant information, then that is the end game, and that is a long-term revenue play, and that is how companies like Bloomberg make their money. I mean, obviously there's a number of financial research companies, but essentially they're providing you with their own analysis and access to their own data. And
so you're saying, in a sense, by not selling an exchange platform, you're not limiting yourself to X amount of dispensaries, X amount of growers,
No, I mean, we're still selling ourselves as an exchange platform. We're just not charging for it. Like, it's nothing about the core offering of the product of what we're doing right now has changed at all.
It's different in the sense that the customer is no longer the person using the exchange.
No, the primary customer is still the person using the exchange.
But they're not paying. The person paying is the one buying the information. So when they become the customer,
but they're not. Those aren't customers yet. That's down the road. That's not happening right now. Our customers that we're selling to right now are we're selling our platform.
Mm-hmm.
We're selling our exchange, and we're selling ourselves as a team and what we'll do to make this a successful and legitimate.
So you need an investor to float you for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the time frame is on that. We're trying to do a projection of at least 2 years worth of expenses just to be safe, but I don't know that it'll take that long.
Did you get to pitch this idea this weekend?
It was the marijuana tech startup competition.
Yeah. How are you involved in that?
I did pitch on Friday and present on Sunday.
You pitched the exchange or different?
No, so it was a hackathon style event, and we wanted to come up with a new idea for that event. And it was me primarily there representing CCX. What I pitched was essentially a completely independent of CCX application that's open source and open API, but it's a central place for licensed businesses to view and access their lab test results from multiple labs, and then push those results to any other applications that they need, like their seed to sale tracking system, whether that's BioTrack, THC, or MJ Freeway, or Weed Tracker, or Agrisoft. I mean, there's a number of those. It doesn't really matter, but the idea is that we want it to be built onto all of them, as well as platforms like ours, CCX, potentially some of our competitors as well. And the purpose behind this platform is to just try and aggregate as much free data as we can from people and make it a collaborative effort so that we can actually create industry standard grading, like a grading scale.
Yeah.
And understand what the effect of different terpenes are on different cannabinoids and what the combined effect is on your endocannabinoid system.
So it was an exercise in quick presentation, quick business formation, quick thinking, creative ideas.
I mean, you were allowed to work with your own in-house team, and it was a pretty open event, and I like the open, free format of it.
Did you pay to be part of it?
I did.
You bought a ticket, or how did you pay?
I bought a pitch ticket, so they had different types of tickets. They had pitch tickets, developer tickets, and attendee tickets. So the pitching tickets were the people who had ideas to pitch. Developer tickets were people who wanted to participate but didn't want to pitch. Attendees were just people who wanted to observe, and then there was press there, and they had some dispensaries were there. We had a great panel of judges, a lot of industry experts. Steven Spinoza from Good Chem, Ian Sieb from Denver Relief Consulting, Joe Hodis from Dixie.
Nice. They were there doing their own pitches also?
No, these were the judges. The judging panel.
How many
Emily
people were there pitching?
I believe the first day there was 14 or 15 pitches, and that was on Friday, and then on Sunday there was a total of actually 12 presentations.
That's reasonable. I mean, that's of 10, 15 minutes per?
The Friday pitches were 2-minute pitches.
2 minutes. But what was the total? 2 minutes and then Q&A, or just 2 minutes?
No Q&A. There was just 2 minutes, 2-minute pitches, and then everyone just kind of forms themselves into teams on Friday nights. And then Sunday, they were, I believe it was 7 minutes total allotted with Q&A. So they were recommending like 4 or 5 minutes of speaking time, and the rest was allotted for Q&A.
And what was your outcome?
We didn't win the competition.
Did you get any feedback from the investors? process?
We got some good feedback from one of the judges who's part of an investment group, as well as from one of the judges who's involved with the dispensary here in town. Really, it's because it was something that's meant to be collaborative. One of the questions I got during the final presentation from the judging panel was, how would that application monetize? And I very frankly told that judge that there was no...
He asked you the same question I just asked you about the
exchange, which I can give you an answer for that. But the difference with this platform, this separate thing, which we called the Terpene Project, there was no monetary aspect to it. It was strictly meant to be a collaborative platform that we can use to learn more about the plant and create better standards as an industry, because research has been blocked into it for so long. It's just something that would benefit the entire industry, and it came from the idea that we ourselves have wrestled with that same issue with how do we create any type of guarantee of product quality on our wholesale platform. And it's a question that we as a team have spent more than a year talking to people who own and work at dispensaries, who own and work at cultivation sites and infused product labs. And the problem is everybody has their own system, and everything is different, but everything is based off of anecdotal evidence. And the point of this platform was to help transition, or still is, because I still think it's possible, but the point was to help transition the industry from making decisions on anecdotal information to making informed decisions that are driven by actual data, raw data.
Right, to start to make it a process of science, a process of academia, a process of business process,
open
a process
access
of governance.
Open access to the data basically facilitates that. For example, if anybody can go and pull anonymous aggregate data from that platform, they don't need to know who the person is selling it unless that person wants it published. But if they can even say like a Leafly, if they want, they can pull that data, they can run any analysis they want of it for their own purpose. Or any company, really, even a lab can do that. And they can make any claims, they can publish any claims that they want, but everybody else will also have access to the same data. And if the process is not replicable and it's not, it's basically bringing the peer-reviewed aspect of academia and science and medicine.
Well, the way I would respond to somebody that asked me how my app was going to make money is I would tell them, well, I don't anticipate direct money coming from the app other than expenses being covered by the 99-cent purchase from the store. Aside from that, the app is to support the business, to increase sales and revenues through the exact business itself. An app itself is barely a product, if even that. It's definitely not a business. So I would hope to sell enough to cover the costs by the 99-cent download.
You're talking for like the Terpene project?
Well, in general, like if I were building an app in some...
Yeah, it would just be donation-based. It'd be developers who want to devote their time. It'd be dispensaries who want to, be willing to use the platform, and that's about it. It's an open source project. Yeah. People can donate to it if they truly believe in what it is. Like, for example, I'm sure there are some testing labs or some dispensaries in Denver or infused product labs that are truly interested in what that type of project.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about an app that's actually functionable in the sense of moving stuff around, you could easily charge $5, $10 or more dollars, where it could become a profitable monetized app.
Once again, this project was meant to be more of something that actually provides benefit to the industry and was not just a way to make money. Like it's because it's already stems from another issue that we have.
Was that part of the criteria though? Because if the investor was asking you how you're going to monetize
it, wasn't an investor vote. It was a judging panel. A judging panel for a hackathon. That person happens to work for.
So he was just asking that question in general from an. I mean, I guess all feedback is good to some level.
Yeah, I mean, and they liked the frankness of my answer. At least in my opinion, I think they were receptive to the idea that okay, that's fine as long as you're not trying to live off of this app and you're not going to make money off of it. That's one thing. But if it's not meant to be something that is monetized, then, and that's the understanding from the beginning, then it truly becomes open to becoming a collaborative effort, and you naturally draw people who are committed to making it work.
This is fascinating. I think we've stumbled across the topic. I mean, it defines a whole generation of what's happening, is that we're living in a world where literally over the last 10 to 15 years, we've moved to a web world. And as a result of that, there's a whole generation of life happening that is not necessarily contradictory to what we've been taught, but it's people exploring notions that you're kind of bringing up, which is I think a very real topic and a serious one, is that people are actually thinking about business separate from the bottom line profit, which is almost against everything we've ever been taught up to this point. You're contemplating business and at the same time pitching that there may not be any initial profits or
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's truly a product of the time in history when we attended business school, which was, it began during the time of the subprime mortgage crisis. So believe it or not, when I was in business school, I was forced, in order to graduate, to take a class in business ethics. And if I didn't take that class, I couldn't graduate. And if you talk to somebody who went to business school 20 or 30 years ago, the term business ethics was probably an oxymoron. It's something that a friend of ours that we met in Washington, his name is Eric Ogden, with a weed tracker, he explained it in a very good way. He said it's triple bottom line. It's benefiting your general stakeholders, your investors, and the world or the community as a whole. And it's a new way of looking at creating collaborative and cooperative economies where even people who are potentially in the same sphere can work together to better the industry as a whole. And it's something that in this industry we're forced to do, because if we don't do that and we just try and wipe each other out, the industry won't survive. We're the ones pushing for the industry to stay around. So we're almost put in a position where as a nascent industry like the cannabis industry, we have to do that. Any other sector of the economy, that's not the case. One person dies out, somebody else will come in and fill their place. And that's not to say that won't happen in this case, but it's different because people in this particular area are so passionate about what we're doing and what we're fighting for and what we're trying to make happen.
You know, that's so funny you bring that up, because just last week when I was down here at the offices talking with your partner in crime, Nick, we were forming the initial ideas of this nonprofit that I think we're seriously going to put together.
And what nonprofit is that?
This is
I'm curious. I like this stuff. I love this stuff, man.
This is what happens when you leave town. No. So we were talking about having the the fourth leg to the table, that the business side, we need a nonprofit side, a face to tie it all together. That I'm working in the media angle, you got the business angle, we need the nonprofit angle. And we're talking about, causes that we could get cannabis behind that would be, and you were here at the end of it, if you remember. We were talking about the vets with PTSD.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you were on the phone, and you're a busy man working away.
I was. I think I was up in Washington, if I recall.
No, this was just last week when I was here. You were
that's
here,
right.
You were on the phone.
Right.
Nick and I were hanging out in the back offices, and
we actually did that event. It was actually on my birthday a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
a week and a half ago.
That's why we were talking about
Operation
it, 'cause you posted
Grove
on
Events.
Facebook.
Yeah, no. So our friend, our contact there, her name is Crystal Medina. She's just been really awesome and helped us get a sponsorship table at that event. I got to meet a bunch of great veterans and talk to them and thank them for their service to our country. And it was just such a great thing that, I mean, it's still really a tragedy the way we treat our veterans in this country, and the fact that we still in this state don't allow PTSD as a qualifying condition for medical cannabis, but at least they can be provided medicine even if it has to be called recreational.
Well, that's where the idea came from, was that we needed to get behind something, and Nick mentioned that there were some strong connections to vets with PTSD in the group, and that's where we should focus our efforts for this cause. So we're going to start an organization where we directly give the profits, the funds from the activities to acquire cannabis to give to vets for free for PTSD. And this is where the clothing apparel line came in. That if we create the Grind and Burn clothing apparel line, we tie it into the vets with PTSD, and we sell the clothes, and all the profits we make from the clothes we give to acquiring cannabis to give the vets.
Nice.
So
I like that.
There's this structure that you can do out of Delaware called an L3C, if you've heard of it, where
I think
where you can form your company as a for-profit, but function as a nonprofit and receive the benefits as a nonprofit in certain tax deductions and other such benefits. So I think we're going to actually, when he gets back from Puerto Rico, or Costa Rica. I forgot where he went. But he went to learn Spanish, right?
I'm not sure. I thought he was going on vacation, but yeah, he might be learning some Espanol.
To speak some Espanol when he gets back.
It's funny that you should mention different causes. I met a really awesome, interesting person while I was in Seattle. I was at a technology and cannabis event that was thrown by the Marijuana Business Association, the MJBA, up there. It was in downtown Seattle, and the keynote speaker from that, it was a series of panels throughout the day. I think I sat on it was the very first one. It was business metrics and business intelligence. And I sat on the panel with Randy Simmons, who's the deputy director of the Washington State Liquor Control Board, Dominic Corva, who's with one of the other trade associations up there, and then also the head of marijuana policy for the city of Seattle, the mayor's office. But the keynote speaker was a gentleman named Jamin Shively. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
That's a great name, though.
Yeah, he used to work at Microsoft. He was like a marketing and branding strategist.
Great name for a marketer.
And he left that job to pursue building the first true brand in the marijuana industry. And since then, he's really focused his efforts on another cause, which is ending world hunger.
Huh.
And he's doing that through an organization called...
Him and Miss America together. They can...
Well, I really do like his approach, and it really, you hit it on the head when you said getting the industry to get behind a cause. And this organization is called the International Coalition of Cannabis Companies and Organizations, or ECO. And the idea behind it is to, in the future, like 2.0, really come up with industry standard best practices. In the short term, companies in this industry can pledge 0.1% of their top line revenue to some type of charity that ends world hunger. And then they get a certification, almost like a fair trade stamp or a certified organic stamp, and it's eco-certified compassionate. Really, the idea would be that the charities that are being donated to, they're based on some metric of what percent of every dollar gets back to the actual cause. They would also get a similar certification, so it's an eco-approved charity.
Right.
But if we as an industry can get behind that, that's such a substantial push to ending something that really is a basic human need for everyone on the planet. Is a new cause, which is the International Coalition for Cannabis Companies and Organizations, or ECO, and the way they're going to certify different companies in the cannabis industry, or really in any industry for that matter, for pledging to donate 0.1% of their top line revenue to ending world hunger.
There has to be some way for people. I always call it an excuse. Like, what's your excuse for taking action? So the way I look at it is if you want to sell shirts, like whoop-de-doo. If you want to buy a shirt because you're supporting a cause, well, that's different. I would like to get some cool shirts about the show and everything else, but, who cares? Who cares about buying shirts? So maybe if my goal is just to get cool shirts out there, I don't need profits, so maybe I can just take the profits and give it to the cause. And then I get both win-win situation.
Yeah.
Is that unethical? Is that immoral?
I think that's great.
Is that conniving and Mr. Burns like? I don't know.
I think it's collaborative, and I mean, especially you could even tie in the cause to the T-shirt design itself. Like they could be,
right.
They could be camo shirts that say the CCP supports our armed forces.
I think it'll be a good cause. It'll be something worth doing events around. I mean, think about it. We could have parties, little music events.
Operation Grow for Vets has a good framework for going off of, and
right. Every 3 months, we could have a little shindig, raise some money.
I believe they served around 700 veterans on September 20th in Denver, and about 1,000 in Colorado Springs this past Saturday, the 27th. So they definitely have hit the nail on the head with finding a good cause to get behind with this industry, and I think we could definitely help contribute to that.
There you go. I think that's a high note to slide on out. I think we've talked about everything from your trip to Washington your weekend, what was it called? Tech startup?
The marijuana tech startup competition weekend.
Right. Talked about big changes in the business.
We did.
Changes that are rattling the industry, right? You're going to give away free membership to the industry to sign up to become an exchange members. They can find you at CannabisCommoditiesExchange.com.
It's CannaExchange.com.
CannaExchange.com.
That's the same URL we've always had.
CANNA Exchange.
Exchange.com.
Spelled normally.
Yep.
Exchange.com. So you got 2.0 coming out?
Yeah, we're thinking a couple weeks, sometime in October. We haven't set a date yet for it. We're still doing some testing on the final version.
All right.
And then we're in the works of trying to get up to the Cannabis Grand Cru, which is going to be in Aspen in November, the 14th and the 15th. We're going to have some panels up there. Yeah, and other than that, working with, like I said, Jamin, we're going to have some type of, launch party or press conference or something like that out here once we bring Eco out to Colorado. So stay tuned.
I now remember how Nick and I got started talking about this cause. He mentioned Aspen, and I said, Aspen. And he said, yeah, we can save the spotted owls. And then that's where we started talking about causes.
The nice Hooters.
Yeah, and that's where we started talking about getting behind the cause. That's where we formed the idea. 360 right there. I'm going to hit stop. There's nothing else to say.
Sounds good. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for listening to this week's show. Make sure to come back next week. We're going to have more guests lined up, speaking with dispensary owners, growers, business owners. Make sure to follow us on all of the social media, Facebook, Google+. You can listen to our shows live from the website or your preferred listening platform. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spreaker, even YouTube, all under the same name, CannabisCommunityProject.com. We'll see you next week.